Okay, so I would start something with a shloka, which I believe is very important because it doesn't need a translation, okay? So the, the shloka that we all are aware of, Matra Deva Bhava, Pitra Deva Bhava, Atiti Deva Bhava, and Acharya Deva Bhava. Now this shloka is it says so much. The child's schooling starts at home, not at school. So what as a parent is our job? Now I'm a parent and I have two dogs and I think I became the parent first when I bought one, not my daughter, okay? So technically I have three children, two non-biological and one bio. So now today we're talking about how we react, respond, and how it molds our behavior. Now, how many of you, so it'll be more of interactive kind, so just raise your hand when it's yes, okay? So how many of y'all first react and then respond? First you react and then you respond. All of us does it, right? It's even I do it at times. I mean, when I have too much in my plate and I don't have time to think, I definitely react first. But we can alter that when we give ourselves some time every day for an insight. It's very important. Like now what's happening, the trend that I have encountered from many people who tell me is, first thing when I ask them, how do you sleep? What do you do before you go to bed? We watch Netflix, we watch Prime videos, we watch Hotstar, and that's how we go to bed. If you do that, what happens is, before going to sleep, if you spend at least half an hour introspecting, reflecting how your whole day went, you can autocorrect yourself, autocorrect your own behavior. You don't need a therapist. You would not need a counselor. You would not need anyone's help. When you reflect on your own emotions or on your own behavior, you can alter yourself. Okay? Like, let me give an example. Let me start with this case, okay? So whatever case I talk about is highly confidential. I don't disclose the identity, just roughly what the case is all about. One child was referred to me in his high school stage where I was told that he's very aggressive, very bad with his communication, retaliates, confronts, irrespective of the age. Now what happened here is the first session I met the child, I met the boy. He had so much of anger in his face, so much of anger in his eyes. When I looked at him first, I got a little scared. Not about safety, but I got scared about what is he actually going through. That is so much of anger in him. Okay, and as a pattern of empathy, we smile when people come in. I was scared to smile because you never know what the other person is going through. You can mock someone with your own smile at times if they interpret in that way. So the entire half an hour session just went in silence. As a protocol, we had to introduce ourselves. So I introduced myself saying that my name is so-and-so, this is what I do. And when I asked him what's his name, he said, am I here to introduce myself? Okay. I said, yes, we need to get to know each other well. So that, however you feel, probably we can even conclude the session if you're not comfortable with. Because I feel that you need to give children accountable for their actions. You can't always spoon feed them. You can't always stand up for them, okay? So when this boy, he just said, this is my name, this is what my age is, and if that's all you need for your data, please take it. Very blunt. The second session when I called, and before we could conclude, he asked me, how does it work? So I assumed he was asking about my sessions. But it's always important that you clarify what people are asking if you have not understood. So I asked him, what are you asking me about? So he said, how does this work? And I was like, okay, I don't know. I'm still trying to find how does it work. Even sometimes, it's a very strong emotion there. And the next session he came with a list and he said, Charlotte, look, this is my list, just fix them up for me. Now what we think is if we are taking help from a therapist or a counselor, anyone for the matter, we want to fix our problems, like a quick fix, right? We substitute our human being as a furniture. Like, how many of you, when you're, say, for example, you have a sofa set, for some means the handle is broken. How many of you all will fix it? Be honest, you will get a carpenter and you'll fix it. Very nice. And how many of you would think that let's replace it because it's quite old? Few of us will think it, yes? Now, I remember when I started staying with my grandparents, when my dad retired from his defense, there was a sofa and it was very old. I mean, but they maintained it well. At some time after grandchildren started using it, we started spoiling the furniture. We started jumping on it, didn't know the value of how to handle them. So in due course of time, the legs got weak and the handles got weak. The cushioning effect went off. But my grandfather was very particular about not selling it away or not giving it. Instead, he changed the entire cushion. Cushioning of the entire sofa was done, redone, with a different fabric. Okay. Now, one thing what I learned at that stage was he had emotions to the furniture. Okay, he carried those through probably the times he has spent with his wife and his other families. What we do now is, if the furniture is old or we get bored of it, we want a new one. Same thing, do you think we also substitute with our emotions and people? We get bored very often. Right? So that's why we don't like something which is constant there. So if suppose our furniture gets old, a sofa set gets old or stained, we think, okay, this offer is going on in Urban Club, let's, exchange it. And they're smart enough, they give us exchange values. They come home and they just get new furnitures. Our emotions are similar like that. We exchange our emotions or we exchange people, try to find different means or try to find different substitute emotions to it, but we are scared to express the real emotion in us. We try to hide them, bottle up them. Now with this boy, the list which he gave me, he didn't tell me what was his problem. So I was clueless of what he's actually going through. And then when I saw the list, he said, fix my mom, fix my dad, fix my elder sister, fix my younger brother, fix myself in bold letters. Okay, it was very strong again. And I just kept the sheet and said, are you willing to talk it out? Because you can't force, just because you are sitting in a chair with a therapist, you can't force another person to talk. And he said, okay, I can talk. And when he started talking, his voice was stammering. Because when I asked him, what's making you nervous? Is it me? He said, no. No one has ever spent time or asked me what I feel. In fact, they tell me that this is what I need to feel and this is how I should behave. So what his story was, when he was 2 years old, he had his elder sister who was 6 years elder to him. So when he was 2 years old, his mom was expecting the third child. And when the third one was born, it was a boy. So in the family dynamic, it was only one girl child and 2 boys. And he was a middle child. So what happened with him is his elder sister got the attention because the only girl child, and the younger one because he needed it. So this middle child was neglected, unknowingly. We parents don't make deliberate mistakes. We make unknowing mistakes. And so whenever he wanted to get attention of his parents, so he would do things which would offend things. So in school, he would deliberately not do his homework, back answer at the teachers, hit someone. It started becoming very aggressive because what he felt was if it was just a minute thing of not doing homework or back answering, parents would just get a note from the teacher. But he didn't want that. He wanted the attention. So he started doing it more and more aggressive. Sometimes it would be hitting someone so hard that the child would bleed. Okay? Sometimes it would be at home, he would break glasses and when anyone get hurt, I'm not bothered. That kind of behavior. Now, parents were clueless. What's happening to him? My other 2 children are being brought up well. What has been given to them, same thing is given to the child. But what they taught was materialistic thing, not the emotional part, not the time. So when he started speaking out, he started crying. He had tears in his eyes. And he said, it's been quite some time I have not cried. Okay, and so he didn't know how to cry. He said, my throat is very hard. I don't know whether I should still talk. So we gave him time. I gave him time. I said, you want to drink water to, feel a little better at your throat gland? And then after that, he said, I have been always told by my grandparents or by my aunties that boys don't cry. So I always suppressed my emotion. I mean, aren't boys a human being? Aren't they just like us? So we had to make him understand that, look, you can cry. Crying is not a sign of being weak. It's a sign of being strong by being expressive. And that's how our sessions went. And when I spoke to his parents for the first time, they were taken by surprise because they didn't expect him to open up because he had so much of anger in him that he felt being expressive was only by damaging things around him. And we started a family-centered therapy where everyone had to work. It's not just the boy's problem or the parents' problem. It was the entire family dynamic. We had to work on it to help them all sort their own issues. Now, what happens is, I asked about react and respond. Now, say, for example, when we talk to someone, we first react, and by the time we react, we have already damaged our relationship with the other person and the situation, and then we think to respond, it's already done, all the mishaps have already done. So what we can do is, sometimes you can't start from today saying, okay, because Charlotte has said, let's think and not respond or react. Try to make it as a habit. When you make something a habit, it becomes a part of your life. So before someone talks to you, something, especially something offensive, something you don't like, just think that, okay, this is not a time to react. Let me just ask a person, why do you feel so? What is making you behave or talk like this to me? When you start questioning or asking questions, that's when you're getting answers to your questions. And if the person is not in a state of talking, then just walk out from the situation because that's the best thing you can do at that moment. Okay, we all carry baggages in our life, emotional baggage. At one point, the baggage gets too heavy, we find it difficult to move. Now, in my parents' time or my grandparents' time, or in your family, or in your grandparents' time, there was never a therapist. So who was helping them out? It was a family, friends. Why it's not happening now? Because we become judgmental. The minute they come in the problem, they say, it's a very petty thing. You don't have to worry so much, right? But you don't know for that person, his problem is at the center of his life right now. So let's not be judgmental with anyone. Even for you, it would look a small problem, but for that person, it's a huge, big problem. So acknowledge that. Appreciate that someone is coming and talking to you. And then probably if it's not getting sorted out, seek help. There's no wrong in seeking help. Even we are humans. Like when sometimes parents come and they look at me, I wonder is something wrong with my appearance? Do I look so dreadful to them? Okay, there was one parent who asked me, how do you assess my child? Do you have an apparatus? And I was like, yes, I have an apparatus. So he said, what? Are you going to put them on the nods? I said, no. I have an apparatus, and my apparatus is empathy. I use empathy so that I get down to the child's level. So now, as a parent, I remember sometimes my daughter says, Mama, you won't get angry, right? You won't get angry. Can I tell you this? So I realized that as being a therapist, even I react. But then I clarify that, baby, I won't get angry. You just tell me what it is, because I need to know what is happening. Now, why I inculcate or advocate for family time is because when you have at least spend 1 hour in your family every day before you go to bed. Say, start with dinner together, and then you conclude your day by, winding up talking about what happened in your life. Your child will learn that. Your child will only learn from you because they role model very well. You can't advocate when you're not practicing. So if you talk, for example, husband and wife are working together out somewhere, and the child is left with a nanny or some grandparents or some relative's house. You come back home, you set your dinner table, sit together, and you husband and wife start talking to the child. So, take your turns and tell how your day went. Your child will model that. So what will happen is when your child goes back to school, he or she will come back and tell you what happened at school. That's when you'll know what's happening in your child's life. When you don't do that among yourself, your child will know that it's not something that has to be discussed. Only when there is a problem, we need to talk. Otherwise, we don't talk. We only watch Netflix, we only watch Prime videos, or we only watch Hotspot. Now, there's a question for y'all. When you have a cold and fever, do you all immediately go to the doctor, or you take home medicines? Home medicines, right? We take warm water, we gargle, and now we know so much that we Google and check what we can do at home, primary, like a first aid. But when it gets worse and you have high-grade fever, you get rashes, do you go to a physician or you go to a neurologist or cardiologist? Physician, right? Same way, we therapists are. We are not something extraordinary. When something happens with your emotions, your brain is giving you too many things at one time. Talk it out in your family. They are your first primary caretakers. If it is not sorting it out, you feel more horrible. Your symptoms are increasing. Then you seek help, and then you know whom to seek, a psychologist or a counselor. Okay, we don't go to a neurologist for when we're not feeling well. So seek the right people's help. Now in market, there are many counselors. Okay, when you see the degree, I get surprised because you would have done 2 months of certification and you call yourself a therapist. How is it possible? You cannot be a therapist when you have not learned various ways of helping someone, right? Each life is different. Each person is different. I had to sometimes brainstorm how I can help this family. And I don't take decisions for the family. I give them choices and I let them take decisions because it's very important that we make people accountable for their own actions, be it a child, a parent, or anyone. So you never take a decision for them, you let them take a decision for themselves. That's when you learn. It's like a relearning happening. So that's it.